primetime muscle athletes and fans around the world. We are back. Tim Wilkins, as always, joined by Hall of Fame bodybuilder Chris Cormier.
What's up?
And the one and only judge and mega promoter, Derek Gilgindy.
Great to be here with you, Tim. I have to say same thing to Chris. Great to be here with you, Chris.
You too, buddy.
Yeah.
You too.
Love the outfit.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Since I saw you both over the last probably 5 to 6 weeks, you guys have been all over the world. Dubai, the Philippines, Tampa, Sean Ray Classic in Hawaii.
Romania, Mexico, Brazil. This has been a great year traveling around. I've seen a lot of great potential, and we're right around the corner with the Mr. Olympia. It should be more exciting than ever.
We are right around the corner, and that brings us to our first topic of the day, which is Chris Bumstead pairing with HANY for the first time ever. And I don't know how much you changed coaches, but guys, how do you think this is going to affect his outcome, what he brings on stage?
Well, it's totally going to be a different mindset behind the preparation, what he does the morning of, what he fills up with as far as carbohydrates and proteins. And he's probably going to ask him a lot to see what worked before, what foods he works well with leading up to a show, how fast it burns, and how much it stays.
Well, that's a good question, because when it's your first time with somebody, you usually like to do a show or two leading up to that to do some trial and error.
Right.
So this could impact the trial and error.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're getting a new coach, don't you want to get a guy that says, hey, let's not worry about what you had before?
Dicey.
Tim, you bring up a great point, which is working with a new coach, that coach. And I got to give credit to HANY, because if you look at the combination HANY RAMBOD and Chris Bumstead, Chris is already a Mr. Olympia. So if he wins the Mr. Olympia, it's like he's going to get the credit as the coach, but it's not like the guy wasn't Mr. Olympia.
You got
right?
a 2-time Kentucky Derby winner.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So HANY is taking somebody who's already a Mr. Olympia, and there's a lot of pressure, because God forbid something happens and this guy doesn't win, all eyes are going to be on HANY RAMBOD. Now, granted, he is one of the greatest coaches of all times, and a lot of people have that doubt that you have, which is, well, how does he know his body? How is he going to have the knowledge to dial this guy in? And my response is, he is a professional. He's been in this situation many times, where he gets a guy and he needs to quickly adapt to that guy and dial him in. So if I were to look at the situation analytically, I would say HANY is going to be up to the task, and he's going to have Chris Bumstead dialed in for the Mr. Olympia.
Well, to your point, he's only improving on perfection. You only say, how much more perfect can I make this diamond? But that said, without a couple of shows to do some test fires and carb up and load and sodium, whatever you're going to do, what hour do you pull water? You're coaching the best of the best. You've been one of the best of the best throughout your entire career. Do you do kind of a pre-show without competing? What do you do in your mindset to try and get a feel for what works on his body?
I would try to have a person in early. If you can get someone ready 2 to 3 weeks prior to the show, then it's a lot easier for you to coast into the show. But you're probably going to need to dial yourself in early and not try to wait till the last minute to make that final look.
That is such a big difference to not have to work on the magic tricks.
Right.
The Wednesday, Thursday, Friday magic tricks.
You want to be
rolling
ready. You want to be ready.
Tim, I just want to add something, if I can.
You can. We're not going to stop you, because you might judge one of us someday. Chris and I are going to be back in the Masters Olympia in Romania. So
I hope to judge you, not Chris anymore. But one of the things that people need to take in consideration is, it's not only the technicalities of nutrition, cardio, and water, dropping the water and everything. It's more than that. It's the mental. HANY RAMBOD is a guy that likes to be in control. He's got a very domineering.
Really?
He's got a very domineering personality, and that works perfectly for him. He has been successful with that personality of, hey, This is my gig. Follow me, and I'll take you to the promised land. And when he had Phil Heath was not Mr. Olympia. Derek Lunsford was not Mr. Olympia. And a lot of times, Hani likes to work with these guys, and they sponsor some of these guys with his company, Evogen. So he had Jeremy Buendia with Evogen. Follow me. You're with my company. Let's do this. Same thing with Derek Lunsford.
I'm going to coach you too.
Correct. Chris Bumstead is a different scenario. Chris has his own supplement company. Chris is a Mr. Olympia. Chris is the most popular guy. So in terms of personality, Hani is going to have to take a different approach here. This is not a guy that you're building up. This is not a guy who needs a supplement, sponsorship. This is a guy that's already there. And sometimes athletes that are already there, they have a certain posture that doesn't allow you to control everything in their lives. Right, Chris?
That's right.
Well, to that end,
man shit.
It's going to be interesting to see what people bring to this, what Chris brings to the stage. But there's a couple other guys with new coaches or new athletes, great coaches like George Farah, who has Blessing and Andrew Jacked. That's got to be tough. Have you ever been in a stable with 2 or 3 guys with your coach and think, all right, who's getting the most attention?
Well, if you got 99 Olympia, you have Chad Nichols, who. I've worked with Chris Aceto as a young guy, panel for Ghoulies for a period of time. But then I did a few shows by myself, a few Olympias by myself, and did really good. But then I was like wanting a better look, a different look, and so I started trying to listen what they would say. Like I've been in like the Mr. Olympia, and I'm like, listening to someone else what they're doing. I'm with Paul Dillette, and he's going to talk to Chad, and Chad is handling Dillette, Flex Wheeler, and Ronnie, newly working with Ronnie at that time. So all these guys are in the same stable. So when we all went to 99, it was myself, it was Flex, it was Ronnie, it was, most of these guys were all in the top 5, top 4.
Did you feel like you were getting slighted at all? Like you weren't getting the devotion and time, or like somebody's getting favored? I'll make sure that Paul gets more cards.
Sometimes it'll take him to around 1:30 or so in the morning to get to my room. But I'm just cool, calm, and collected. I don't let anything worry me or think too deep into it like that.
Well, 1:30 gives you time to get the carbs in and the groupies out.
Yeah.
So that gave you time.
And be back from the rave party. Well, listen, Chris, let's get down to business here, okay?
Well, it's a business you don't really know that well. You don't really know the business that well.
You're telling me that a coach.
From the looks.
You're telling me that a coach. You're telling me that a coach does not have preference? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, he's human. I'm probably sure he has a preference, but I think he gave us all the equal opportunity to win.
What I believe is this, and you correct me if I'm wrong. You have a horse that's winning, so you have the Mr. Olympia. You're coaching the Mr. Olympia, which in that case was Ronnie Coleman, right? It's human nature. You're going to give that guy a little bit more attention because that is your premier horse on the race. And some of the other guys might not get the same attention.
That's why you're not coaching. That's why you're not coaching.
You have Breon Ansley, okay? You're telling me right now you give Breon Ansley the same attention of a Menzies guy that's doing his first Mr. Olympia. Tell me, look at the camera right now and lie to America. Lie to America. Look at the camera and lie to America.
Well, in all defense to Chris, you'd be lying to the world. Thank you to all of our international friends.
Big time liar. Big time liar. Okay.
So back to George and the guys. So George has Andrew Jacked and Blessing, and we're going to see what he does as far as bringing new blood.
George is a guy that he's not domineering. He is a guy that is the big brother that helps everybody. And some people, they like that because they feel safe. Some people, they prefer, Chad, who's a little bit more distant. Some people prefer Hani, who takes control. George is a guy that the competitors they want the emotional attention, they tend to to go with George. Now, even George, when he looks at Andrew Jack and he looks at Blessing on that weekend, George is going to think to himself, this is the guy who's my main horse who has better chance. Every coach does that. And at that point, you know.
I understand the equal opportunity to win, but I also understand at some point you go, all right, I got an hour. Someone's getting 45 minutes and someone's getting 15. And the guy that's taken third and the guy that's taken 16th, they're getting, and I'm not saying either one of you guys are getting 16th, but I'm saying, because I don't want the hate mail. I get enough mail talking about Chris's clothes. Thank you.
Tim, who do you think is going to place better, Andrew Jack or Blessing?
I actually think Andrew Jack is.
So here's the hate mail. Blessing Oladipo fans. He lives in Florida, right there next to you guys.
I have enough boogeymen in my life, like I need one more. And then we got Chris Aceto. Who's he bringing into the big show?
We got Dino.
Ramon Dino?
Yeah, we got Dino. You have, I don't know,
Rafael Brindel.
Oh, yeah. He's looking crazy right now.
Yeah, Rafael Brindel.
So what's the deal with Rafael? Because, I mean, leading up to the show, he looks like there's nothing else you could do, Mr. Olympia. You know, but a lot of these shots, he's by himself. He's not next to someone. You get next to someone, and then you can see what's good, what's bad, different flaws or different angles. Because these guys on Instagram got the nice angles and the nice light and all that stuff. But it don't take away from he has an excellent physique, and I think he has a great future in it. I just want him to bring what he's bringing from Instagram onto the stage.
I would have mine taken next to a medium-sized child. Wouldn't that be awesome?
You know, aesthetically pleasing. He's aesthetically pleasing. He has the lines. You know, he brought the conditioning to many shows. It's just that we're living in an era where the Mr. Olympia is humongous. And if you look at guys like William Bonek, Hadi Chupin, even Brendan Curry, they're trying to get bigger. And it happened with Ronnie Coleman. When Ronnie Coleman was winning all those Mr. Olympias, Jay needed to get bigger. Dennis needed to get bigger. Chris, everybody is chasing that dog. And Rafael Brindel, if Dexter Jackson was the Mr. Olympia, it would be a different game, right? Because he would be like, put me next to him. I have just as good lines as he does. But the horse that's winning is a big horse.
They're Clydesdales, which is, my wife, I'm sure she humors me, which is very sweet of her. When I run down the hall, go, you got to see this update picture from Nick Walker. He looks sick. And yeah, he looks sick, honey. Good for you. But the pictures the last few weeks of Hunter, Nick, these guys look, Ian looks massive. Everybody looks so ready this far out.
You know, I had an opportunity this year to see Hunter Labrada guest posing in Mexico. He looked incredible. And Mr. Olympia is right around the corner. I had a chance to see some of his recent pictures. This guy has not lost any size. So we're about to see him on stage looking humongous. If you're a guy like Rafael Brindel and Regan Grimes, you know, that have smaller frame.
Regan's not in the show.
No, I understand that. I'm just mentioning Jackass. Because he's also an athlete. He
Don't
qualified.
bring him up. This ain't his time.
He qualified.
But
Don't
it ain't his
disrespect
time.
the guy.
It ain't his time.
Don't disrespect the guy.
Well, stop.
Okay, he's not hiring you. Just letting you know.
Like you said,
he's not hiring.
Just like you said,
he's not hiring you.
Just like you said, Lee Labrada was in the show.
So
you even said Lee Labrada was.
He's not hiring you. Okay?
You said Lee Labrada was in the show.
All right,
You're
that was the
not
bell
hiring.
for the neutral corners.
Yeah.
If they go back to your corners,
Lee
to
Labrada was
drink
in
of
the
water
show.
and get your corner man to fix those cuts. And we'll be back. We got some dynasties to talk about going into this year's Olympia when we come back on Primetime Muscle.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
All right, in our last block, Big Ramy's name was dropped, and we're going to circle back to that. It is a weekend where dynasties could be made. He's already had 2. Is this a three-peat? Does he get one for another finger? Does he get another Sandow? Yes?
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Judge?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on anything. All I can do is look at history. And I believe when you win 3, you become a dynasty. That's a fact. You look at Sergio Oliva, you look at Dorian Yates, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, Arnold, Lee Haney, Ronnie Coleman. Once you win 3, you go in the history books as a dynasty. People that understand bodybuilding, they know that bodybuilding, unlike the NFL, unlike Major League Baseball, is a sport where the previous winner has more chance of winning than a new person. If you look statistically, the percentages. When Ronnie Coleman won, if you were to put money on it, you would put money on Ronnie Coleman winning again than somebody surprising. That's why we have these dynasties. And what happens, Tim, is when you get somebody with a superior physique, genetically, conditioning, mass, the odds of that person failing are much less than him succeeding again and again and again. And traditionally, we've only had Mr. Olympias, the great dynasties, go away due to the fact of injuries. Ronnie Coleman had an injury, Dorian Yates, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, all of them, they got out of the game because of injuries. We don't know if they would have won more and more and more if they had stayed. The only guy was Lee Haney, who said, hey, I'm out, and he came out on top. But looking at the Mr. Olympia and the history tells us, and the statistics.
Just get it out.
I'm finished.
Yeah, you've been saying the same thing.
Today is not the day. Today is not the day. If you listen to me, maybe you'll learn something about this life.
Stop. Stick a fork in it already.
So,
God.
I'm going to sock, Nico, I'm going to sock this food today. I'm just telling you. I'm going to sock you food.
Go ahead, man.
Statistically, we're looking at Ramy's on 2, Bumstead's on 2. So we got another three-peat for. Now you got a dog in that fight. We got a three-peat for Chris.
Can't say that. Can't say that. My guy's looking really good. I can't say it.
All right.
I can't say that one.
I don't think Rough Diesel's putting up with that either. He's definitely. No. Terrence is coming for blood.
Yeah, classic is classic. He might be too big this year because it might be a different mindset behind what he's doing. I think he might be less detailed and more on the big side.
You just put that on Honey. So
it might be. I don't know.
Bumstead?
Oh, that's a very precise answer. That does great for our show. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Bumstead?
Just say the whole thing.
Dynasty?
I think Chris, once you win 3, he is already a dynasty, and he's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you, this guy, Ramon Dino, is the real deal. You see his progression. One thing about Ramon Dino is he's had this
Dino is the real deal.
Massive arms. Oh. Massive arms, and his forearms are huge.
See those shots he put up?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, glorious shape and lines and intricacy. And what I said was,
he ain't playing around.
Yeah.
These update pictures, 4, 6, 7 weeks out, look like they're a week out from the old days. They used to suck all that out 4 days in advance.
So if you look at Chris Bumstead and Ramon Dino's comparison, one of the things that we've been critical of Chris Bumstead is the arms, right? That the arms could have been bigger. And Chris will be the first one to admit that. Yeah. That's one thing that Ramon Dino has. He has massive arms. Yeah. Now, one of the weaknesses of Ramon Dino has been the back. Now, he has detail on the back, but he's missing a little bit of thickness. And width. And it looks like he's added that. He's added that to this Mr. Olympia. So he could be cutting all the weaknesses and saying, guys, put me next to this Bumstead guy, and you will see what the real deal is. No pun intended. It has nothing to do with you.
So 212, that's out. So the next dynasty is men's physique. And does Brandon have 2 in a row? I think he does.
Brandon has 3.
3.
2 consecutive.
2 consecutive. So he's got 3 already.
He won it back. So I mean, he's like I said before. I mean, he is. I don't think he'll be letting that thing go this year. I think he's got it for another year myself.
I'm going to tell you this. I think one of the categories, based on what we saw, bodybuilding shows this year, I saw a lot of great men's physique competitors. I'm going to mention one name here that I want everybody to pay attention because he just won 2 shows this year, and the guy was already qualified. So actually, in the calendar year for the qualification of the 2022 Mr. Olympia, this guy won 3 events. Okay, 3 events. His name is Bhuwan Chauhan from India. Okay. Bhuwan Chauhan from India won 3 pro bodybuilding men's physique shows this year, and he's going to the Mr. Olympia. Another guy that I covered, and he won 2 consecutive shows, was Nicholas Cole. That's another guy that's very dangerous. I think in the men's physique division, we could potentially see some new guys on that first call out.
Now, Bhuwan, one of those was your show, correct?
He did actually. The show that he qualified was one of our shows in Southern California. He then went to Northern California this year, won a show, and then he traveled to India and he won another show. So this guy is winning everywhere. It's a look that the judges are saying, yes, this guy is on prime time.
That's the reason I asked, Chris, because you look at some of these shows, and no offense to international shows sometimes, but when you look at an international show versus sometimes a stateside show, and you say, all right, he had no competition.
Right.
You know, you win the New Delhi Classic.
Hence why I started to laugh, because who's up there with the guy if he's going all over the place and winning? Like,
Yeah, but you're in Northern California, Southern California, you know there's some heat because of how many live there.
His shows. His shows. I mean, who's in it?
There's some heat in those shows.
The last men's physique show we had in San Diego was 35 athletes.
I know, I saw.
Why are you discrediting? Are you on a
I'm
mission?
not discrediting.
You are.
I'm
You just discredited, jackass.
I'm just kidding you.
Jackass, you're losing so many job opportunities.
The moment I say something about his show,
Come with it.
and not being very competitive.
That's 35 competitors.
Now you want to fight.
35 competitors. You just don't know what you're talking
You've been talking about all this stuff.
I like what
illegitimate children in Mexico.
All right.
All this stuff.
So as we
say who was in it, you got mad.
As we transition, don't think the Uber rides and the dinners aren't just like this show. By the way, it's one big shouting match across the Uber. I've been progressively hiring bigger Ubers, so the yelling goes far.
That's all I said. Who was in it? That's all I said. You got so mad. Look at his jaw now.
I'm not mad, Chris, but I might suck you on the face today. You don't even know how many competitors were in the event.
I just asked a question, and then he went to India. I get it. I get it.
So, we are talking the women's categories. I'm looking forward to seeing the women's bodybuilding, of course, that's back to the main stage. But I think Andrea Shaw is going to be. You talk about statistics and someone to beat. That's going to be interesting to see who can come up against her.
Andrea Shaw is a phenomenal bodybuilder, phenomenal. And we had a segment talking about, could she potentially be the next Linda Murray? I mean, she's genetically gifted. She has all the muscularity. Her conditioning is on top of her game. And in addition to that, she is drop dead gorgeous. I mean, that woman, she puts a dress on and goes to the after parties. She is like the prettiest girl in the party.
Have you been in the party?
It was the after party about the rising
some photos?
Yes.
Photos?
You were probably not there.
Were you there?
I was there. You were not there
I
last year.
was not there.
You were not there because you don't get invited. You just don't have the credit for it.
Sarah Villegas has 2. She's up for potential dynasty status.
Correct, yeah.
Sydney Gillen's already well into that category.
Yeah.
Bikini has been all over the map the last 4 or 5 years. So that's up to Jennifer Dory.
And AK.
And AK what,
47.
AK 47, yeah.
And Laura Lee Chapados, who took second. Now Laura Lee had a somehow not controversial, but it was a year of a lot of how can I say, Chris?
Drama filled.
Drama, and that's not good for a competitor that's battling against the best in the world.
But some people, it's the way they handle drama. Sometimes they can just let it go, roll over their shoulders.
Some people ingest it and use it as fuel.
Yeah, it's fuel. Can burn. Could work different, couple different ways. So
and some people it's straight cortisol.
Cortisol.
Some of these guys in the internet are like, I'm wondering, how the hell do you coach people if you're in the internet talking trash about one another every single minute? And I'm like, guys, who are you training if you're in the internet responding to each other? You know? But I guess they can do it.
Well, there's a lot of potential people perpetuating their dynasties or starting a new one, depending on the outcome. And we'll be back to talk about, as we have over the years, over the last few episodes, the best male coaches across the divisions. We're going to talk about those 2 top female coaches as we head into the Olympia on Primetime Muscle. Welcome back to Primetime Muscle, our final block for the day. And we are talking with perfection. We are talking about things that aren't messed up. Unlike my 2 human delete buttons over here, we're talking about the best trainer of female athletes headed into the Olympia weekend. We've got Jamie DeBernard and from Fit Body Fusion and Kim Odo from Body by O. Guys.
Well, I mean, Jamie is she's everywhere. She's doing it all right now. So, I mean, you can't really, go against. That's like the powerhouse of the whole sport right now. Kim has been there a long time standing, and solid, more of like a Hall of Famer type, and she's the one rocking and rolling right now.
Well, let's throw this out here. Coaching going into the Olympia, we've got Jordan Lee. This is Jamie's crew so far. Jordan Lee, Alicia Fachin, Ashlyn Little, Jibin Park, Amy Leanne Velasquez, Shelby Pierce, Ivana Eskandar, Jordan Brannon, Eureka Shigemoto. Rhea Gale is on the team, and she's one of her Fit Body Fusion coaches. And Jody Junker and Jamie herself and Elisvita Schmuckler are still trying to get their qualifying points. Kim Odo got back to me and said he's got him across all categories as well. He's got a men's physique, Karina Grove from figure, Yarishna and Angela Borges in wellness, Laura Lee, Janet, Aaron Stern, Jessica Wilson, Vanya August, Sierra Swan, Hayun Kim in bikini. He covers a lot of ground.
Oh, man, I got to tell you, this is a war. This is a war. In the men's, you can talk about, and I'm also going to add Ricardo Panaim from Brazil, who also has a lot of athletes. But domestically here in the United States, we have a war. Then this war is fought between Kim Odo and Jamie DeBernard. Make no mistakes about it. A lot of the times you are judging a show and you have 2 or 3 from Jamie and 2 or 3 from Kim Odo, and they're always battling. Kim Odo historically has been there for a longer time. And he's had many times where he had the top 6, top 7 of the top 10 Mr. Olympia on his camp. Now, what Chris said is accurate. Jamie DeBernard is everywhere. Everywhere. She is flying all over the country. She's recruiting athletes. Now, a lot of the pros want to be with her. I was in the Philippines, and she had competitors there with her uniform. So she's making an attack against Kim Odo dynasty.
And a lot of those pros are coming in as coaches and figureheads, not just sponsored athletes for Fit Body Fusion. Jennifer Dory, you got Mark Anthony, who's coaching as well, Rhea Gale.
Which is an interesting thing. I've been in the business for a long time, and and I've seen great teams, right? They develop a team, and then some of the main athletes, the pros, they kind of go away and they start their own thing. And then that team loses power, and eventually they might end up worse than one of their top athletes. That has happened a lot with a lot of teams. Jamie DeBernard, and I give a lot of credit to her husband, Craig, they're very visionaries. They're like, how can we make our people make money? So they're happy and they stay in the program. And that's exactly what she's done. You know, and one time I was giving feedback to her. She goes, Tarek, that's not my client. That's Jordane's client. You know, she allows them to have their own individual business under her umbrella. Very successful, and she's been incredible with our organization.
We've talked a lot about that, actually, as an aside over the last few months, about how do people actually make money in this, because the Weider sponsored athlete thing isn't there anymore. The big sponsorships from the supplement companies, you've got to find a way to parlay this into something useful.
Oh yeah, and the way they handle athletes is the cream of the crop, you know, today. You know, the applications where they can submit their check-ins. And I've been around Mark, and he's handling a lot of clients for the team, and he stayed on top of it. And it seemed like it's the way to go these days, having the apps on the phone. And I feel like their formula is working because they're not jealous of each other. They're working and all helping each other as a team, but still have their people under their umbrella.
Now, Kim, my daughter was going to compete about a year and a half ago, and she had a military injury, so it was going to be a big emotional comeback for her. And I wanted her to have the best of the best. I reached out to Kim, who did her diet and did check-ins with her, and then had people help her with her coaching. I think it was Laura North, which was phenomenal. But when I wanted the best, I reached out to Kim right away, had CJ do the costume. And so you've really got those two reputations when you want to get it. You look at that stable of all those Olympians with Janet and Aaron and
oh, he's won it so many times, not only in the bikini, but also in the figure division. You know, he's got Aaron Stern on his camp. He won with Nicole Wilkins. He won with so many great people. And just right now, he has Laura Lee Chapados, who's the second best at the Olympia stage going in. So they are two of the best. One thing that I like to mention about these guys, they're not Instagram coaches, okay? They're not Instagram coaches. On the contrary, you can't get Jamie DeBernard or Kimoto to really invest their time on Instagram because they're so busy training people, getting on the phone with clients, looking at pictures. And that's my advice to some of these young coaches. Get out of Instagram. Instagram will only get some temporary fame. What's going to get you longevity in this business is the customer service you have with your customer, which is the time you spend one-on-one with them. And I know, for instance, Kimoto, he's up at 4 o'clock in the morning doing calls with the East Coast people because they're already up. Jamie DeBernard is traveling. It's not enough for her to see a picture. She's in the hotel room checking the athletes. Those are the great coaches, and they're the ones teaching everybody how to do it.
And that's one of the complaints I've heard from other athletes with their coaches is if you're not one of their big stars, it may take a few hours to a day. And when you're down to days, hours, and minutes from a show, you don't always have that kind of emotional time. You're coming unglued. Do I eat a rice cake? Is it time for a meal? Look at me, look at me. And if you're not getting it, that's pretty crucial to have somebody that's traveling to look at you.
Yes. Yes, because also the photos, videos is not going to pick up every little cut, every little detail that they need to know about the look. You're just like, oh yeah, I look way better than what this photo shows. Yeah, of course, because it's not going to be able to pick up every little, every little cut.
Well, and as athletes, we're inherently trying to find the best lighting and accentuate our positives. There's certain bathrooms that have it and certain that don't. And
right.
We're not taking the bad picture.
Yeah, I don't know what Tarek does per se, but I feel like if Tarek could do a check-in, it would probably be
You don't even have the courage to finish it.
I'm just looking at you.
Your arm wrestling Bakersfield doesn't even back you down, okay? You don't even have the courage to finish it. Finish it, big dog. Come with it, big dog. You're going to be scared to finish it? Look at the camera and say, I'm scared to finish it. Let's go back to business here. I want to mention one international coach, Ricardo Panahin. He's the coach of Franciele Matos. He's also the coach of Isa Piscini. So this guy internationally is also very good. And he's got people here in the United States. Ricardo Panahin in 2019, he had an incredible year where Isa Piscini won. And he had other athletes winning all over the world. And he is the coach of Franciele Matos. So that's another guy we should mention.
All right. Well, those are important factors. Now it's going to be interesting to see out of those stables, you know, again, people latch on to the winning coach. People latch on to someone that's already up there like Jamie. It's going to be interesting to see. Jennifer Dory is in Fit Body Fusion's team and part of Jamie's team. However, she's coaching herself, so Jamie says.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody that has been competing and has won Mr. Olympias, they kind of know the formula that works for them. But Jennifer Dory is a very smart competitor. If she has any issues or any doubts, she's going to reach out to Mark. She's going to reach out to Jamie. And she's going to say, guys, what do you think about this? And to have that on your camp, that experience, is something very valuable.
Well, that's a tough place to be. So they're newly engaged as of the Olympia last year, Mark and Jennifer. Do you pass by your future husband and dare him with the "how do I look" a few weeks out from the Olympia? I mean, he's an amazing coach and knows the business as a former Mr. Olympia himself. Mm-hmm. But is that some ice you want to tread on and say, hey, how do I look?
Take a special person for that.
Run.
I just want to know also, when they're on stage and the girls are up there and they're doing their thing, how do they go? Because I hear them, go, girl, go. Like, how do they go? Go where? How do you
hip.
go?
It's like
go.
Chris, your nonsensical.
How do you go up there?
Your
how do you go in bikini?
Your nonsensical mind needs to be explained in public.
How do you
America. When the coach says go, is a simple terminology to motivate the competitor on
Terminology.
stage. Yes, they're not actually telling the bikini competitor to just
go.
fly off, the venue and go somewhere.
Go!
Okay.
Go!
You're an embarrassment.
Go, Jamie!
You're an embarrassment to the bodybuilding industry. That's what
go, Kimberly!
Yeah.
Go!
So, that said, we're going to be yelling go for a whole lot of people right around the corner in the Olympia weekend, December 15th to the 18th, Planet Hollywood, Zappos Theater. An amazing expo coming up. Tim Gardner and his team, on behalf of Wings of Strength, have put together the Olympia, a massive expo like never before for the Olympia. We hope to see you there. Of course, as always, December 15th to 18th, as always.
Go!
Tarek?
Go!
I'm Tim Wilkins.
Let's go!
Like, share, subscribe, and follow us as always. Oh, we're going to be at the expo. Find the Primetime Muscle booth and stop by.
Yeah! Primetime's in the house!
Primetime Muscle is in the house at
Let's
the
go,
expo.
baby! Now we can go!
Let's go!
Now we can go!
Go. We'll see you next time.